Starting. I don't know if we're live. Live video starting. Okay. Welcome to the Flipping and Wholesaling Houses in New York show. I am Michael Pinter, where I teach you how to start flipping or wholesaling houses, or if you're already doing it, how to grow your business. So, got a question? What if I've never been involved in sales and I have a fear of talking to sellers? What should I do? Interesting question. I think I've sort of dealt with this before, but I'm going to deal with it again because I think it's important. There really are three ways to deal with a fear of talking to sellers. The first is to do what I did for the first 4 years, which is not talk to sellers. So I bought at live and online auctions for 4 years, and I have several students that have no interest in talking to sellers, and I wholesale deals to them, or I show them other wholesalers to buy from, and they really focus on just flipping the properties. So just getting the properties, managing the construction, and selling them. Now, a couple of things. If you told me you wanted to make $80,000 to $100,000 a year doing that, I could say you could do it with no problem. And the students who have who do that have full-time jobs and still do it. So that is one way to do it, to avoid that. If this is going to continue to be a side business for you, I think that makes a lot of sense. So you can completely avoid talking to sellers that way. The second option is to hire or partner up with somebody who may or may not be better than you talking to sellers. So I know several partnerships that are part of my mastermind and investor fuel where one guy talks to the sellers and one guy doesn't. I know a bunch. Ironically, in some of these partnerships, I think the guys who doesn't talk to the sellers would be great at talking to sellers, but whatever, he doesn't want to. So that's one option. I would say be careful about partnering with somebody in that regard, because it is probably a skill you can just pay somebody to do. So maybe find someone who's doing it already and pay him to talk to, if you trust him, to be the one to talk to your sellers. That's an option, right? And there's a lot of different ways to structure it. You can partner up with him with giving him a certain percentage, but the only thing is if you're giving him a piece of the whole business. I had a partner, and 50-50 partnerships are almost always doomed to failure because it's not going to be 50-50. The work's not going to be divided 50-50, and even if in theory it is, both parties are going to think they're doing more, and eventually people get upset. So I would say, if you know somebody who's really good at sales, you can say, hey, can you talk to them? I'm going to pay for some training for you if you can afford, Steve Trang or Jerry Green's training, and say, hey, I want you to talk to the sellers, and I'll give you, on every deal that you bring in, I'll give you, 20. The standard for an acquisition manager is like 10% of gross profit, but if you're starting and you don't have a business without this, give them 25% or something. Just understand that at some point he may say, why am I only taking 25%? So that's one option. So that's the second option, right? One is to avoid it completely, never talk to sellers, don't go direct to seller. Buy from the people who are direct to seller, or buy from realtors, auctions, asset managers, whatever. Second is hire or partner up with somebody who is good at that, so you don't have to do it. And the third is to actually do it, which is obviously something you're afraid of. But I would say you at least understanding how to do it gives you a huge advantage, even if you're going to hire or partner with somebody. So here's what I mean. Whenever you're going to hire somebody or partner with somebody to do any task, you sort of have to have a basic understanding of how it works. Now, I understand it's scary. In 1992 and 1993, I was a stockbroker over the phone. And there were guys who were amazing on the phone. And I know guys who are amazing salespeople. I would say every one of them was terrible in the beginning. Every one of them. And every one of them was terrified. I was terrified. And inevitably, when you do it significantly, especially if you really need to be successful at it, you're going to get better at it, and you're going to overcome your fear. The fear is really of the unknown. So let's talk about fear. Actually, the fear of talking to sellers, right? It's really, to me, it falls into two categories. The first is it's fear of rejection. You feel like people are going to tell you to drop dead. I'm going to kill you. I got told die in a fire. Someone told me, one of my students got told to jump in a pool full of piranhas. But the second is a fear of success, right? What happens if the person says yes, and I'm not prepared for any eventuality or for any question this person may ask me? Both are legitimate fears. I understand that. But you almost have to analyze these fears. First of all, figure out which one you're afraid of. You might be afraid of both. And then really talk to yourself about what's the worst. So for me, once a seller on the other side of the line goes bananas on you and calls you names and tells you they're going to come to your office and kill you, and then you realize that they're never going to come to your office and kill you and that nothing really can happen to you, that should help you get over your fear of rejection. Doesn't mean you're going to not avoid rejection. When I was a stockbroker, there was a lot of call reluctance. They were paying us, I think, $200 a week, and we only made money if we opened new accounts. The only chance to get out of our shitty position was to get on the phone. We were expected to make 300 dials a day, make 30 connects a day, make 10 pitches a day, and get at least open one new account for somebody who's going to send the firm money. And you would see people doing everything to avoid being on the phone. Guys would take 4-hour lunches. Guys would bullshit with other guys in their office for 4 hours. Because it was this fear of rejection, right? It wasn't a fear of success, because when you were a cold caller at this firm, and most firms work the same way, once you got somebody like who said any kind of yes, you've transferred them to somebody else who was going to do the real pitching. So there wasn't fear of success there, because the success wasn't in your hands. It was just fear of rejection, because you got hung up on so many times you didn't want to do it. But eventually you can get over that. Now, the fear of success is a tough one, because what I find with a lot of people who are learning is that they really suffer from paralysis by analysis. They are terrified about something that's 9 steps in the future. So I have people call me all the time and go, I've been building a buyer's list for 2.5 years. I'm like, building a buyer's list for 2.5 years? I go, I don't want to burst your bubble, but you probably just wasted 2.5 years. You should not work on buyers until you have a deal. But people are afraid. Well, if I get a deal, I'm going to need to find a buyer for it right away. I promise you, not important. You can definitely find a buyer if it's a good deal. You can always call me. And I can find a buyer for you, or I can buy it. People tell me that they're getting their funding. I'm getting my funding in order. I don't like the shade. That's even worse. Because I'm getting my funding in order. I've been trying to talk to lenders, for 9 months. I've been trying to talk to attorneys. All these things are they're so minor in the big scheme of things, right? Getting a seller to say yes to you at a price that makes sense is the hard part of the business. So, I'm starting a new course. I started a course back in a pandemic in 2020, and I'm redoing it starting tomorrow. If you're interested in it, you call my number. I'm happy to sign you up. Even if you miss a few modules, it's all recorded. You don't have to be on it live. But this fear we have of not knowing everything is really unfounded. Nobody knows. I don't know everything. Plenty of people don't know everything, right? The idea that I'm not going to call sellers because they may agree to my number. I'm not going to make an offer to sellers because they may agree to my number. Is not a real fear. They probably won't agree to your number. Most sellers don't agree to my numbers that I make offers to, but they have all these fears. Now, if you're afraid, like, what number should I offer? That's also, I understand it's a legitimate fear. I don't know how much to offer. I don't know how much the repair estimates are. I don't know what things are. I don't know what to value property. All those things are not even as important as getting a real solid lead who's motivated, who says, I need to sell my house, and I understand I'm going to sell it for less than I could if I listed it. That's the key, really, right? Or there's some kind of issue with the house. So in my course, I'm really trying, and it may not work, to get everybody who's new to only watch the first module, which is only like 4 lessons, which is just mindset, how New York works and how the other states work, choices you have to make before you start, and marketing. Marketing's all you should be doing, because I don't want the next module, which is after you start marketing and you're getting leads, is only 2 lessons. The second module, which is what to say to a seller on the phone, how to make an offer, and how to estimate repairs. That's it. And then once a seller says yes, then I have the last module, which is how to get funding for your deals, how to find buyers for your deals, what happens at the closing, those kind of things. So I'm trying to get people to only focus on the small part, because a lot of people who took the course didn't take action, and when I called them and asked them why, overwhelmingly they told me it was because they were overwhelmed, right? They just got too much information and their head was exploding. And when they would talk to a seller, they'd worry about all these other things that really weren't important. So I highly recommend, if you're afraid of talking to sellers, to talk to sellers, right? And the steps I tell people to take are to get a list from PropStream or from Listability, skiptrace the list, and then call. And I understand it's scary. It's scary in the beginning. I'm not saying it's not scary. I'm not. I know that feeling. I was scared. Every amazing salesperson was scared the first time they picked up a phone or went on a sales call. But I would advise you to work at that and get better at it. That's the third choice to me is the better choice. And if you decide that after 6 months of doing it that you still hate it, then go through one of the other two options. So avoid it by buying properties from people who have already done that, from wholesalers or from realtors. Although don't buy listed properties because they're almost always a mess. When I mean realtors, I mean like REO, bank-owned property realtors, or from wholesalers. And or instead of avoiding it, then just find somebody you can hire to do it, or that you can pay to do it, or that you can partner up to do it. Those are my choices. I hope those are the choices you have. I hope this was helpful. If you're interested in all the ways I can help you, go to howtoflipnewyork.com. I don't know what the link is to coaching, but you can go to coaching.howtoflipnewyork.com, which is all messed up. And if you're interested in the course, it's howtoflipnewyorkcourse.com, I think. I don't know. All the links are messed up, and I got to fix them. But course starting tomorrow, so it's October 26th. Will be the first lesson live. You can everything is recorded. So I mean, there's a slight advantage to being on it live because you can ask questions live, but you can always ask me questions even if you're watching it in years from now. So please keep the comments coming. I post 5 times a week. I don't always know what to say. Your comments give me topics to discuss. This came from a comment, so ask any question you want. It does not have to be about the video you're watching. If it's a simple answer, I'll just reply. If it's something I covered recently, I'll give you a link to a video on it. And if it's something new, I'll do a brand new video on it. So thank you very, very much for watching.